Hello from Gardening at Twenta here in Ireland. Well, recently I discovered an old email from 6 years ago, and it was my first order of orchids from a nursery in England called Burnham. So I thought it would be quite fun if we had looked through this email and see how those plants are doing nowadays. Here's the email, and it was sent in January 2010, and it's to Burnham Orchids in England, and it says, "Dear Sarah, I would like to order some orchids for collection at the Dublin Orchid Fair on 10th or 11th of April. I have made a list and calculate the cost to be £52 sterling. Okay, you can actually hear my excitement coming through the lines, can you? And down the end we have the list of plants I wanted. Now these would all have been baby plants, baby orchids, and it was my first stab at growing unusual ones. So I was very excited to have a go, having only grown mostly Phalaenopsis before then. And now I'm going to show you a picture of all of these small plants as they were when I collected them from the Orchid Fair in April 2010. So first up, we're going to start at the bottom of this list and work our way up. And the first plant down there is a Laeliocattleya Blossom Bounty, which was a seedling when I first got it. And if I can find the picture of it, I'm going to put it up here and now. And this is Laeliocattleya Blossom Bounty as she is today. And as you can see, she is a big plant. She has flowered for a couple of years, and it's a plant with a guarante in its ancestry. So what happens is it doesn't produce sheaths. The buds actually come directly from the leaf axils. Now this year, unfortunately, the buds blasted for me and I actually got no flowers from Blossom Bounty, but up until that point she was a regular and reliable flower. So generally this plant has done well, but can you see this kind of twisting on the leaves here? Now this is supposedly from a calcium deficiency, and plants that have guarante in their ancestry tend to be particularly prone to it. I don't know why this plant should have a calcium deficiency, since I do give it Epsom salts, but there you go. Now I think what I'm going to do this year is I'm going to divide the plant, and a portion of it is going off in a plant swap, and then possibly I'll be able to manage the remaining plant better. Next up was the seedling Prosthechea cochleata, or however you pronounce that. And I think this was the first of the bunch to actually flower for me. But today it is a grand plant. Look at the size of those pseudobulbs. Really, really impressive. And a substantial plant as well. Now it's actually not flowering at the moment, but as you can see there are plenty of sheaths. And I will have a display again soon. It's one of those plants that just flowers for the longest time, so you actually forget about it because it's in flower for such a very, very long time. Third on my list is the Bulbophyllum Elizabeth Ann Bucklebury. And the story with her is that I've nothing to show you now because, well, she grew very, very, very big, but I never managed to flower her. So unlike Blossom Bounty or cochleata, she just didn't flower for me. And in the end, I divided her and gave pieces to the far-flung corners of the world. I don't have her anymore. Now, I think now probably what I should have done is given her one more try, just potting her in pure sphagnum. But I didn't think of that at the time. Next up, we have Cataleya labiata. And here she is. Now, can you distinguish her? This is the Cataleya labiata in the front here, in front of Blossom Bounty. And when I got these two plants, the size was really very similar. But this, the labiata, is a species Cataleya, whereas Blossom Bounty is, of course, a hybrid. Now, that may have something to do with her slow growth, but generally speaking, this plant just seems to go very, very slowly. You have to remember too that in the beginning I didn't know a whole lot about orchids. And I must admit that I did subjugate my Cattleyas to a quite vigorous winter rest when I read somewhere that you have to reduce watering a bit. I'd only been used to a nobile type rest at that point in time. Now, while I didn't subjugate the Cattleyas to a nobile type rest, I did withdraw water in a way that wasn't really appropriate. So that may have set the plant back or just stalled it a little bit. And last summer in the greenhouse, do you see that growth down there? That is gone. I suddenly had the mad idea that happy sap, which was on the new emerging growth, should be washed off. And the plant was actually in the greenhouse at the time. I thought I'll wash it off when I water it. Just pour some water on the new growth and it'll be fine because it's in the greenhouse, plenty of air circulation. You know, Bob's your uncle. But what happened was I rotted the new growth. So I'm definitely not doing that anymore. And learnt my lesson, let's say. But this labiata, it's very slow growing. And next on the list is a Paph cross, Shin-Yi-Isabel by delaenati, which should produce beautiful pink pouch flowers. And here he is today, still shockingly small. I have the original fan that came and I have a new fan. Now, over the years, this plant has actually grown extra fans, but they rotted away. I really didn't know how to take care of Paphs at all in the beginning. So I think I've done well to actually still have it alive. Although whether it's just so set back now at this stage or what, I don't know. It would be wonderful if I got flowers, but yeah, no time soon. I must concentrate for the moment on making sure that this new fan grows and grows well. And the second Paph I got was Romagna, which is a more complicated hybrid and really not one that it's advised to buy as a seedling if you're not a very experienced grower. But I bought it as a seedling and I learnt a lot from it, but unfortunately I rotted poor Gary in the end. And next on the list we have Coelogyne cristata. And we've had to take a trip out to the greenhouse to see the state of my Coelogyne cristata, which I've featured before in videos. Now this is the one that was bought as part of that Burnham order as a seedling in 2010, and it's done well for me. The first time it flowered was in the house, surprisingly, and then it went through a slump for a while and now it flowers regularly. I did repot it last year, so it's slow to produce flowers, but I believe that's a bud coming there. They don't like root disturbance at all, but you know, in the end, sometimes you just have to repot them. And the final plant on the list is Sophronitis purpurata. This plant has gone through a lot of name changes from Leyla purpurata to Cataleya purpurata, but I'm going to show you mine now. And here we have my very substantial Cataleya purpurata. Now I do admit I've cheated slightly here because this purpurata isn't the one in the email you just saw. It had been bought from the same supplier from Burnham the year before. So I bought mine in 2010, but my friend Leyla had bought this one in 2009 as just as tiny a seedling as you just saw in the picture. So at one stage, Leyla realised that she didn't have the light conditions to grow this plant, and she asked me if I wanted hers. Now, because hers was 1 year older than mine, it was obviously bigger. So I took her plant, which is this one here now, and the original seedling I gave away to someone else who promptly killed it. This is how a Cataleya purpurata can grow in a 7-year period. It really is quite a monster and not advisable for people with small spaces. So there you go, that was my video on my first orchid order ever and what happened to the plants, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it might help you make decisions about what you want to buy if you're starting out. Thanks very much for watching. Bye now.